Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Comic-Con podcast. We are actually on episode 20. Can't believe we've actually done 20 episodes of this at this point. You know, does it seem like more or less? What do you think?
A lot more.
A lot more? Yeah,
We've been doing this for 5 months now, man.
I know,
2021 has been going nuts with the Comic-Con podcast.
it's kind of crazy. I can't decide. Sometimes I feel like we haven't been doing it that long, and then sometimes I'm like, 20 episodes. It seems like a lot, but maybe it should be more. I don't know. But anyway, here we are, episode 20. If you're listening, you're probably listening to us on one of our many ways to listen, which is Apple iTunes, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Anchor FM. You know where you can find us usually, which is on Instagram. You can find myself, Milton the Manimal, my friend Justin here at Nemesis Prime. And we also have our own Instagram, the Comic-Con Podcast, where we receive questions, emails, voice memos, any kind of thing you want to send us to any one of our Instagram platforms or our Gmail account, the Comic-Con Podcast at Gmail. You know what to do. Send all that stuff our way. And it always kind of leads into our first section of every episode, which is the community section. So we actually have a question that came from our YouTube video that we did on Friday. You got the question, Justin?
Yeah, so just to give a little bit of a background, we were live on Friday because Zach was actually here in New Jersey. So we did a live show on the YouTube channel. We post some older stuff on there on a weekly basis. And, it's really nice. There was a lot of great comments and there were a lot of great people in the live chat, but also, once the video posted, there was a lot of good questions. So pulled a question directly from that. And it's from our friend Astro Wizard. He says, I wouldn't mind hearing your thoughts on the comic crash in the 90s versus today. Is it getting crazy with prices and so many covers and printings? I know there is new money in the hobby, but do you think it may bring another crash in the future?
It's a tough one. Everyone's talking about the volatility or the rise of the comic book community right now. I think one thing you have to look at that's different from now to the 90s is something that completely drives the comic book market right now is the movies. We didn't have the MCU back in the 90s. We didn't have this clamoring for every single character to show up, whether it was MCU characters or even the DCEU or the Netflix stuff or, the independent Boom Studio stuff, the Millarverse, anything, everything. I think honestly that right there is the biggest driving point for the market right now. So I don't know, man. I don't see it crashing necessarily unless maybe everyone gets like just bored and played out with it. What do you think?
So my thing with the 90s today is I think the differentiate is because you have writers in the 2000s and the 2010s. Writers really dictate these comics. That's really what the storyline. In the 90s, it was always art, right? Jim Lee was huge, Rob Liefeld,
McFarlane.
McFarlane's another, those are the top three right there. Campbell was doing interiors. The art always drove the comics, but the stories were just awful. I mean, from X-Men, where was, we kind of talked about this briefly. Spider-Man was great up until like Maximum Carnage. And then after that, it was years of just dreck. When was X-Men like really good after, maybe Age of Apocalypse? Like after that storyline, what was really like the next thing that you can remember? And
to be honest,
who wrote it?
The 90s of X-Men was like the epitome of X-Men for sure. I mean, that was when you had X-Factor, X-Force, New Mutants, Generation X, the X-Men, Uncanny X-Men. I mean, 90s X-Men was great. You're right. And then, but like once you got up to Age of Apocalypse after that, I mean, then you're talking like, wasn't bad. You still had Operation Zero Tolerance and like some decent storylines, but then you get into like the Chuck Austin era. Oh God, it was rough. So, but that was definitely post 90s.
And also another thing with the 90s though is people were just buying comics. They were buying tons of comics. There was no great content out there, and there was just no readers, to be honest.
Right.
Nowadays, I think if the prices are going to go crazy because of the covers and the printings, I really think it's going to be because of these variants. And what's going to happen is in 15 years, you're going to see someone buying a collection that's going to have like 500 copies, not even 500. Let's just call it like 300 copies of X-Men 1, like the most recent relaunch, because Marvel does these high ratio variants that basically tie the retailers to a string, like order this many copies to get this cover. But at the end of the day, they're not selling through. Like I remember my local comic shop that you visited last week, Clockwork Comics and Cards. I remember he ordered 300 copies of that Uncanny Avengers run when they
Okay.
relaunched that,
Yeah.
just to get like all the variants. I mean, he sold through the variants, but I know he still got like 2 boxes unopened at his house because he
Yeah.
never. I'm pretty sure he even sell 100 of that book. He could have pushed
Right.
it to everybody in that shop that comes through during the week, and I'm sure he wouldn't have sold all 100 copies. So he's still sitting on at least 200. Just you could probably just throw them in a dollar box constantly.
And something else you mentioned that I was thinking about was you talked about like the writers and the writer driven
Mhm.
stories of like our era now. And I think part of that is you're getting writers now that were our generation. They were readers then. So they grew up loving the story. So you have real fan favorite writers now. And I'm not to say that like, your Claremonts and those guys weren't like fan favorites, but they didn't grow up with the characters. They created the characters. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
So it's a difference. It's a difference when you create a character and you grew up loving a character and now you're like, now I want to pour my heart and my soul into this story. And I know it's on the fence, this writer, but Donny Cates is one of those guys. I mean, he grew up with comics. He wanted to put his stamp on comics. And as of now, you're looking at Donny Cates being the quintessential Venom writer as of now. No one's written better
Mhm.
Venom or, more long-lasting Venom stories, I think, for a while than Donny Cates. So I think you're getting these writers, like I said, that just have such a love for the material and are like blowing our minds with the writing, the
Mhm.
stories.
Yeah, that's what it's all about. So the fact that, like Astro Wizard asks, I think the crash. I don't think the crash is going to come. I think because of the
Yeah.
fact that there's a lot. Because, like you said, movies are what it is. There's a lot more readers now, and even speculators. So I think the hobby is as strong as it's ever going to be, and will always be strong
Mhm.
until they ever stop making comics. To be honest.
Yeah, I don't see a crash. I wouldn't be surprised to see possibly a leveling in like the pricings. I mean, but I don't know if that'll happen. I think one of the other big things, and we're seeing some shakeup here too. It'll be real interesting. Like this question next year could be very interesting because in this past like year with COVID and everything, we saw Diamond lose its monopoly, you know, and we're looking at down the line as well. I can't remember the name. Who's the company who's taken over here? And
Penguin.
Penguin, yeah,
Mhm.
Penguin is taking over too. So I always agree in less monopoly and more diversity in business. So, more options. So we'll see, man. I mean, but who
Yeah.
knows? That was kind of part of the crash of the 90s was them kind of overreaching as well. So
Yeah. So great question from Astro Wizard. So sticking with the community, I think this one Manimal is going to take because it was definitely a lot of fun. So what we got
yeah.
talking about, man?
So like Justin said, I came out to Jersey last weekend on Friday, stayed till Sunday. And one of the main reasons we went out there was I got a bunch of buddies, and shout out to the DCX, the Darth Castle crew on YouTube. They're huge statue community, awesome dudes that hang out, just talk statues. There's no like motive with these guys. They're not trying to grow a YouTube channel. They're not trying to make it big, make it famous. It's just a bunch of guys talking about statues and having a blast. So my buddy Tim, the sculpture vulture, big X-Men fan, had a cookout at his house, and there was about what, like 30, 40 dudes there?
Oh, total super spreader. Yeah.
Massive sausage fest. Yeah, for sure. Super spreader. But it was awesome. I mean, and it's crazy too, because like these guys you interact with for the past couple of years, I know their names and their handles on,
Hmm.
IG, YouTube, but you don't know what they look like really. But everyone knows, what I look like for the most part. So you feel bad, because someone's like, "Oh, hey, what's up, Manimal?" And I'm like, "Hey," and I just kind of felt like an asshole. But they were so cool. Everyone was so awesome. You know what I mean? It was a lot of
Yeah.
fun.
For me being an outsider, I appreciate those guys. I appreciate them. They're very accepting, talking with a Tim and PJ from the
Yeah.
Paradox Nerd, you know, and even just all the other guys that were there. Jerry, who came out from
Oh yeah, Jerry,
uh,
man, Jerry Barrett.
Colorado, like all these, just so many guys that were just really cool to talk to and listen to their stories. And Tim's just got that crazy X-Men collection, in his basement with all those statues.
Yeah.
And like I said to you, man, it got the itch for me to start looking at some stuff. So
Oh,
I might
dude.
have to.
That's funny. Yeah. So we get in the statue room. Tim takes us down to his dungeon down there. And he's like, so I've seen pictures of this, but you're always like, I got to see it in person. And
Mhm.
Justin and I go down there and he's showing us. And Tim kind of like walks away for a second. And Justin looks at me and says, like, oh God, I really want to buy some statues now. And just like it's like a crackhead, like just took his first hit and now he's like addicted. So it's scary. And then what was it the other night? You're like, I've just spent the most of the night like looking at Star Wars statues.
Oh yeah, I got out of the gym and I said I just saw three like garage kits, what they're called, the 3D printed resin statues, similar like Tim has them. He has some giant X-Men ones. I saw three awesome Star Wars one. There was an Ahsoka, there was a Bo-Katan, and a Darth Talon.
Nice.
That looked badass. Like I'd pay I think they were like $200. I'd pay $200 for those statues and have someone paint them. And I'm sure someone in that community can definitely find me a great painter.
Yeah. So yeah, man, had a lot of fun. Check them out, the Darth Castle DCX on YouTube. They have a YouTube channel. Every Friday, they pretty much go live and talk about upcoming statues. They do a lot of unboxings. And I'm going to give a big shout out to a bunch of different names here. I hope I don't, I'm going to miss some because like I said, there's 40 dudes there, but shout out to, Rodney, my boy, Thor with the badass ribs. We had PJ. We had a Tim, of course, opening up his whole home for everyone. Jerry Bourne, the Mazzola brothers, King David. The list goes on. And I don't hope I don't miss him. Rome Ross was out there, bunch of badass dudes who were cool as shit. Had a lot of fun. Everyone was awesome. Thanks again for hosting and showing us a good time. Cool. That was the community, man. I mean, that's what we're in this for, it's to talk comics. And bro, how many conversations do we just get into? Like grown ass men just sitting there talking about goddamn comics. Like
it was fun, man.
Yeah, it was fun. Like you minute in your head, you're just like, did I just have like a 15-minute conversation with 20 dudes about Daredevil or something like that? Like it's awesome.
Everybody was all over the place just talking. You're like, oh, I remember I think it was like Thor, or maybe I forget the one guy with the red shirt. What's his name?
David.
He was talking about like Defenders and he was bringing up all of them. And everybody was just like watching him talk. Mm-hmm. And then even times with you, man, like you were just talking about like X-Men and like Spider-Man. It was just so cool. Just have everybody listen. And, there's no agenda. It's everybody part of that community, just listening. And even, same thing with me, like people were asking Star Wars stuff. And I was like, holy shit, people know who I am from this and, the YouTube. So it's awesome.
It was cool, man. I mean, we should have taken more pictures. Shit, we should have recorded. Yeah, dude, we should have taken some video to post of like the actual community, but it was cool, man. We're just in the moment. You don't really think about that. But then it's like you leave and you're like, damn, dude, like we should have documented that. Not for any other reason, just to be able to like kind of see it again. So big shout out to everyone from the DCX family. Big shout out to the statue crew. Sicko Mansion was there. Thanks again, guys, for everything. So let's launch into some news. And I know you got a boner over there probably for all the DC news that's coming out.
Man, episode 20 has got to be my favorite one with all the DC stuff that just happened this week with this, merger that's been going on. So let's start with some movie news. So this is coming over from our Mikey Sutton friend over at Geekosity. So this one is Margot Robbie plans to include Poison Ivy in the Harley Quinn film, which is scoop confirmed. So this was on the May 15th. So of course, Margot Robbie really wants Poison Ivy to be in the films, as so much that she has been annoying the hell out of Warner Brothers. So Geekosity actually scooped this back on the 25th of December last year that Poison Ivy was discussed for the Harley Quinn live action, but it is now confirmed. And of course, Margot Robbie is being, the front and center for this. And reasons why. She basically said that, trust me, I chew their ear off about it all the time. They must be sick of hearing it, but I'm like, Poison Ivy, come on, let's do it. I'm very keen to see a Harley / Poison Ivy relationship on screen. It'd be so fun. So I'll be pestering them. Don't worry.
Wow.
So what do you think on that?
I mean, I have a few thoughts. So I would love to see that. I'd love to see Poison Ivy. I mean, we have the Uma Thurman Poison Ivy, which great actress, honestly, great casting as well, but horrible script and god awful.
Yeah.
But this is my problem with comics in general, man, in a way. And luckily, usually DC doesn't do this. And when they do it, it's usually revolved around Harley Quinn. Is I don't want to see villains become anti-heroes. That's kind of my problem. I like Poison Ivy as a villain. I like her as, up against Batman. So that would be one of my, worries, I guess, is to say. The other thing is that Birds of Prey movie was almost unwatchable. So they got to right the ship on that Harley Quinn thing, because I don't know, dude. That was bad.
Yeah, I mean, I only enjoy it because it's DC, it's Harley. I think she was a better Harley Quinn in that movie than she was in Suicide Squad. It kind of brought the New 52 version of her out more,
Mhm.
which I really don't like. I like pre New 52
Right.
Harley Quinn, but you still got to see the characters. I loved Huntress in that. Black Canary was cool. Ewan McGregor's a great actor, so him being Black Mask and psychotic was fun, but he was a little borderline, I guess on the, was he queer, not straight? It was a little odd.
To be honest, he was my favorite part of that movie.
Yeah.
I actually liked him. They did the supporting characters. I mean, yeah, great characters, but dude, they did him dirty. Like, what, Black Canary uses her power like once at the very end of the
Yeah.
movie. Like,
They didn't have enough
sucked,
money
dude.
to do it more than once.
Right. So I don't know, man. It wasn't horrible. Well, it was not very good, in my opinion.
Mhm. So
So
moving on to some other DC movie news. So this week we got confirmation of the Batgirl movie, which I'm happy because
hell
first of
yeah.
all, we were talking about it a while ago. We didn't know if it was going to be a series or a movie, but this week, according to the Hollywood Reporter, Bad Boys for Life filmmakers to direct Batgirl movie for Warner Brothers. So we have the guys who were actually behind, like I said, Bad Boys for Life, which dropped last year, Adil Eli Arbi and Bilal Falan, that duo, that was crazy to read, will be closing the deal with Warner Brothers, centering around Barbara Gordon, who's the good old daughter of, well,
Thank
not really
God, dude.
daughter, but daughter of Commissioner Gordon. And we also have Christina Hodson, who wrote Bumblebee, which I'm happy because Bumblebee was a good movie, is also in the Warner Brothers fold with her screenwriting on Birds of Prey and also the Flash movie. So, that's pretty good. I think we'll be getting some nice stuff with that. I'm really happy that they finally have a director because my detective number, what is it, 359 is just going to shoot up in value now.
So let me ask you this. First off, I'm super pumped about this. I love Barbara Gordon. I love Batgirl. But when you think about like stories for Batgirl that a movie, I can
Mhm,
think of the most important Batgirl story, and it's the Killing Joke, right?
mhm.
I mean, what other storylines? What could you see? You definitely are more familiar with Batgirl than I am. What could you see a storyline for this? I mean, would she be away from Batman, with Batman? What do you think?
I think it all depends on the version of Batgirl that we get because like in New 52 the first half was different than the second half of her
Hmm.
storylines. When she moved to Burnside, they changed up her costume. Are we going to get kind of like that? And I'm here because I'm here in New Jersey, like that Brooklyn, like that
Yeah.
got that type of Batgirl. Are we going to get the hipster Batgirl? Or are we going to get like the cool Batgirl
Right.
from like the, I guess, 90s in a way, like when they do off stories that when it was like one offs after she was Oracle or during the
Hmm.
time that she was Oracle, or are we going to get her even now, where she's fighting different characters that are, I guess, Batman villain sons like Emperor Penguin and I can't think of anybody else. But yeah, the Killing Joke is a one story, but I think that there's still a lot of room for her to
Right.
have her own movie. There's tons of villains that are out there that again they don't need to be like an A-list villain. It could just be an awesome movie, and it's going to be for HBO Max.
Yeah, I think I'd like to see the era. I don't want to see Burnside. I couldn't. I had to actually stop reading during the Burnside stuff. I would like to see what it would be really cool is it's post, like kind of what New 52 did, where it was post Killing Joke. She's
Hmm.
post Oracle. She's back like fighting crime again. She had like the robotic spine or whatever the hell she had. Remember
Hmm.
that chip in her
Yep.
back or something like that?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like she's back in the cowl. That would be cool. And she's operating like her on her own. And the Batman Rogues Gallery, there's so many. Everyone's like A-list characters, but dude, like Penguin, come on, man, he ain't really an A-lister. You can take some of those big time Batman villains and put them with her. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
So that would be cool.
Yeah.
I
I'd
say
like to.
stay away from Batman though.
Yeah. Totally. I think it shouldn't be. And then who knows where it's going to land? Is it just?
Right,
It'll probably just be a standalone movie. I'm sure they'll make mention of Batman,
of
but
course.
nothing where it's going to be a tease that he shows up. So.
Mhm.
That's it
Cool.
on the DC TV/movie news. Now let's move on to some DC animated news, which is I'm really happy for this. So we got some big news coming out of the DC animated. So this is actually reported on Deadline. Batman Cape Crusaders animated series from Bruce Timm, J.J. Abrams Matt Reeves is set to be on HBO Max and also the Cartoon Network. So this is supposed to be some, the new thing past the great Batman animated series. So you
Mhm.
have, of course, Bruce Timm, who's one of the executive producers, which he was the man, the myth, the legend behind both that Batman and Batman Beyond. You got J.J. Abrams, and you get Matt Reeves, which is
It's
being
awesome.
a straight series order directly to both HBO Max and Cartoon Network. Now, are they going to be doing similar to like origin stories like they did in Batman the Animated Series, or are we just going to get all these characters and villains are established and it's just continuations of great Batman telling stories? I'm wondering.
Yeah, I don't know. Whatever it is, it's going to be awesome with just that crew doing it. It's going to be great. I really like how HBO Max is doing all this, like coming, straight to them, and they're really expanding it. They know what they've got with DC, and there's so many things. Everyone's like, well, what continuity is it going to be in, and blah blah blah. It kind of doesn't really matter anymore, with
Mhm.
DC. Like DC has really stepped outside for their animated live action and all that stuff, and kind of like they're just like, look, dude, don't worry about it. We're just going to do stories, which is awesome too. So
Yeah. No, I'm really excited for this because we haven't had a really good Batman. We've been great. We've been blessed with the Batman or the DC animated movies,
right.
which have been awesome for the past, I'd say 10 plus years. But we haven't had like a great Batman cartoon in quite a long time.
Yeah,
You
what was the
know,
last one that had a weird animation or weird art? I did
I
not
think it was
like.
just called The Batman or
Yeah,
Batman. I can't remember. I know what you're talking about. It only lasted one season. It was CGI.
yeah, it was
It
bad.
wasn't that great. I know. I remember they introduced. I want to say they had introduced like Cassandra Cain in there, um, and somebody else like Katana. Maybe Katana was in that. But yeah, it wasn't that great. Who cares? Something better now. So
Right,
2021, 2022, whenever this is going to come out. So
awesome.
and then on the heels of Batman, we have a new Superman animated. So this one is coming out from article coming over from Polygon said a new Superman animated series is on the way from HBO Max and Cartoon Network. So not only are we getting the Batman, but we're getting an animated Superman story. So this one, just to give you a little background, so this is the first animated Superman story in years, and we want to tell a story that's been the trio of both Clark, Lois, and Jimmy Olsen, whose relationship dynamic will allow for rich, serialized, and engaging stories as they explore their lives and journey with friends. So this new show, again, it's really focusing on those three characters. Basically, it's their startup where they're at Metropolis at the Daily Planet. So this is really early on in their careers. And there is one screenshot that's on the website on Polygon, and I'm sure if you Google it as well, it looks very anime-ish, like
Hmm,
Japanese anime-ish.
interesting.
Yeah, it's definitely It's definitely different. But coming out of the Warner Media, like I said, this was just announced. So really awesome to see this. And again, they haven't had a great animated series since I think Superman animated, right?
Yeah,
That Bruce Timm stuff is another one.
I don't think I even really watched the Superman animated back in the day. But I'm always down for. I like Superman, and the best thing about Superman is his villains, man. So getting the villains in there and will be great. You know what I mean? So it's just disappointing too. Man of Steel was so awesome, and the Snyderverse was great in terms of like building up Superman to be like such a great character and see more from him, and kind of losing that. I
Mhm.
hope this kind of fills that gap. You know what I mean?
And
So,
what's really cool is they even announced the voice for Superman. It's going to be Jack Quaid, who's the main guy in The
oh
Boys.
yeah, yeah. Huey plays Huey.
Yes, yeah,
We Huey. Yeah.
yeah.
Oh, that's cool. That's cool for sure.
So that'll be really good coming out both on HBO Max and
And
also Cartoon Network.
when did you say were the release dates on those?
There's no release, but it's set for sometime. I would think sometime next year. I don't think we're getting anything this year,
Right.
but definitely 2022. I would say at
Cool.
the earliest. So really excited for those two shows. And to round out our DC TV/movie news is they actually just showed off a snippet of an Injustice movie. So we are
That's
getting our first Injustice movie in an animated form. And the only reason why this was the reason we found out about this is if you get usually the DC animated movies, they always show you kind of like what's coming out. They kind of always give you the synopsis of some special features and also a bonus thing. So I know they're
Mhm.
doing what do we have? The DC Showcase Blue Beetle. So we're getting a small short on that. And this is actually the special features that are going to be on Batman The Long Halloween Part 2. So they're coming out with, of course, 2 parts for Batman Long Halloween, but they already started showing you the special features. And the second one is a sneak peek at the next DC animated movie, an advanced look at Injustice. So I'm super excited for this. I actually texted my brother this and I sent it to him and he's like, that's freaking awesome. I'm hoping it's bloody. That's all that
Hell yeah.
matters. That
It has
we
to
all,
be.
if you've obviously played the video game or read the comic, you know what happens. I want to see some blood when Superman goes bad.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I played the first game, and then I have actually a couple of the hardcovers for like the early storyline, and they're awesome. The comics are great too, and it's such just a fun story to watch. It's always fun to watch Superman go bad, and if anyone's going to do it, the Joker, man, right? The Joker just is so good at everything. So it's it's awesome. It's super fun. Um, I mean, a movie, TV show, like an ongoing thing. Have they said really what it's going to
Just
be?
the movie, just the movie.
Just like a
Just
one
some.
shot movie.
Yeah,
Perfect.
I'm sure. Well, we could either get it as a one-shot movie or they could spread it out into 2 movies, but I'm sure
Mhm.
just one movie will kind of be it. I
Yeah.
don't think as much as they expanded the Injustice and then Injustice 2 and I think it went maybe like 5 years. I think they did Injustice in the comic books, 5 or 6
Yeah.
years.
I
Because
kind of
remember
stopped
everything
reading.
was
I
like year
stopped reading.
1 and year 2.
Yeah. And what's cool about the Injustice also is that it's a kind of a feel into the Snyderverse. I mean, that is kind of the whole idea that,
Mhm.
Superman kind of breaking bad. So we may not get a continuation of the Snyderverse, but we'll get a little bit with the Injustice stuff. So you're right though. Bloody, gory, badass. That's what it needs to be.
Mhm.
So we got some more DC news on the comic book side, and which we haven't really got a lot of DC comic book news. DC's been kind of weird with comics lately since Future State. They really
Mhm.
kind of decreased their titles. Most of their titles have like sub stories in them. Like, for example, you get Justice League, and there's always Justice League Dark within that issue. So they aren't putting out as many ongoings weekly as they used to. But if you've been reading any of the Batman stuff, you definitely can see this coming. We have DC is starting a Fear State that's going to be taking place later this year around August to Halloween time. So obviously by the name Fear State, you know that it's going to have something a little bit in common with the Future State storyline and some of the stuff we saw in Infinite Frontier, and the idea that Scarecrow is kind of the main baddie in this.
Mhm.
What do you think about that, man?
I'm in it 100%.
All right.
So DC describes Fear State as a horror-themed Gotham City event that unifies plots threads started in DC's fan favorite publishing events, DC Future State and Infinite Frontier. Fear State not only continues the Scarecrow's vision of a fear-controlled Gotham, but also Mayor Nakayo mission to protect the city with his groundbreaking deal with the magistrate. Now, they did just release a really cool connecting covers for
Mm-hmm.
Batman 112 through 117 done by George Molina, and it's really interesting. You've seen the picture, right?
Yeah, I'm looking at it right now.
So we have 112 has Scarecrow, and then we get Batman, we get Ghostmaker. Then you also have Poison Ivy, you have the Gardener, you have Peacekeeper, you have Harley Quinn, and then you have Miracle Molly.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I'm wondering, is Miracle Molly going to immediately turn into like an anti-hero? Because we really don't know if she's a villain in this Batman universe yet, right?
Right. Yeah. I mean, I didn't get villain vibes from her. It seems like her little organization very much I don't know if insurrectionists are really they're kind of hippies. They're kind of like hippies. They want like better world and take away, what is it? They take away choice, or they give people like powers
Mhm. Wow,
with
it's
the
like we're talking
technology
to
and stuff.
Flag Smashers.
Yeah, right. It is kind of honestly, it does seem a lot like Flag Smashers. So I don't know if she's necessarily an anti-hero. She seems like she has good intentions. Who I feel like is missing from this though is Clown Killer.
Mhm.
I'm kind of surprised we're not seeing Clown Killer on one of these covers.
Mhm.
I'm pumped about this. A few of the negatives I see with this though is like, first off, didn't we just get done with Joker War, City of Bane? Like, goddamn, Gotham City is literally the worst place to live in the universe. I mean, it's
Well, Batman
just
is the flagship title, so
yeah.
once a year event is pretty much what we have to do. But you have to realize that the way Batman comes out is twice a month.
Mhm.
So realistically, if Joker War would have came out once a month, that would have been back in 2019, and now we're getting this in 2021. So it's different, I guess, because we were so used to once a month Batmans or even titles probably up until when, like 2017 or 18. Most titles were once a month, but then they start DC Rebirth. A lot of the titles went twice a month.
Right.
So I can see why this is kind of like a real quick turnaround from City of Bane to Joker War to this.
Mhm.
Hmm. But it's
Yeah,
it's definitely gonna be a great thing. I'm a huge Scarecrow fan,
it's me
so
too, dude.
I'm totally in for this. There's a couple of tie-ins, of course. They're gonna be like Catwoman, Harley Quinn, but they did also announce 4 other titles. So there is the I Am Batman, which is going to be a crossover, which sets up the Luke Fox Batman.
Yeah,
Of
I think
course,
it's a continuation of what Next Batman right now, right?
yes.
The little
Hmm.
miniseries, yeah.
Yep. And then you also have the Fear State Alpha, which is
Mhm.
kind of a one shot. So that one's really cool as well. So we're gonna get some good stuff coming in August.
Yeah, and if you read Future State, you know that the Magistrate, Peacekeeper One were kind of the big baddies in Future State, and it
Hmm.
seems like we're kind of seeing the current timeline move closer to what Future State might be. I'm pumped. Like I said, I mean, Batman is for sure the titles I read: Detective, Batman. Um, there's the Urban Legends run, which is really fun too, and yeah, I mean, I'm definitely picking this up. Scarecrow is, what I love about this? I'm looking at this picture of Scarecrow. You know who he looks like? He looks like the version of Scarecrow from Arkham Knight,
Oh yeah, they
which was
totally changed
super
it.
creepy. Yeah, I mean, Scarecrow is literally one of the scariest characters that Batman has, for sure. I mean, Joker's kind of creepy, but he's just goofy as well. But Scarecrow, dude, yeah,
And we
this is
haven't
gonna be
had
really
like
good.
a and me as a Scarecrow fan, we haven't had like an event like this.
No,
Like,
where he's played a big role.
oh, of course, there hasn't been well, it's his own event in a way. Like,
Yeah,
you figure over the past 10 years, you've gotten Death of the Family, you got Endgame, you got the Joker War. Like, it's always Joker, Joker, Joker.
right. Or
Uh,
Bane.
Yeah, and then you have the Bane stuff, but we've never gotten a Scarecrow. And I think with James Tynion writing, Jorge Jimenez doing the art, like changing Scarecrow now is just he's awesome. And I've always, like you said, I've always liked the Arkham
Mhm.
Knight Batman. So I think just seeing this picture, I'm probably gonna have to replay Arkham Knight starting this
Dude,
week.
it sucks because I replay that game like all the time, and a lot of people like hate it because the Batmobile stuff, it's cool, but the Batmobile stuff takes up so much time, but you still got to do it, and I replay those games all the time. It's like I don't play anything new. I just replaying Batman Arkham.
Hey, it's a
Um,
great game.
I wonder if with this, so I'll be interested to see with this storyline if we're going to get any answers to like what happened at Arkham. Are we
Mhm.
going to see any crossover with the Joker storyline, which is I mean, all the Batman storylines are very connected right now. They're all coming off of that arc, the attack on Arkham. So it'll be interesting to see what else we get from this.
Mhm. Yeah,
I wonder,
definitely.
do you know anything about Joker? I mean, is it set as an ongoing, like just to keep going until they decide to
I think
cancel?
it's just an
Right?
ongoing.
It's
It's an
so good.
ongoing until people stop people stop reading it,
And
basically.
who's writing that again? It's Tinian, right? He's writing that
Mhm.
as well.
Yeah.
So I feel like it's got to cross over or
Yeah, I'm pretty
interact
sure
somehow.
I'm sure Nightwing, I'm sure we're gonna get crossover with all the titles. They
Yeah.
only announced that right now because Catwoman and Harley Quinn are in there. I'm
Mhm.
sure we're gonna get some other crossovers for the Batman realm or Batman family because we always do. It's
Right. Oh yeah. They're not gonna not take advantage of that for sure.
Mhm.
Another Batman crossover. So that's awesome, man. Okay, so unfortunately, we don't have a lot of Marvel news right now. There's not a lot going on, but that's not too bad. It seems like sometimes we're super Marvel heavy, and obviously this is a DC heavy episode. But hey, when it rains, it pours. So Now we're going to move into what we always finish our episodes with, which is what we are currently reading. So, in this portion, if you're a new listener, Justin and I kind of go over books that we are, titles that we really liked this week. Maybe they're new, maybe they're old, maybe it's something, that we just want to bring your attention to, and kind of give you an idea of what we are currently reading. So, Justin, you want to go first?
Yeah. So I have 2 books this week. First one is actually from Aftershock, Phantom on the Scan. I don't know if you've read this because I'm
No,
pretty sure you haven't because your shop probably doesn't order this book. But
I've never even heard of it.
yeah. So writer is Colin Bunn. Basically, of course, reading it directly off of Aftershock's website. So 20 years ago, a comet fell to Earth. Since that night, Matthew has been haunted by a spirit that gives him incredible psychic abilities. But these abilities come with a price, and payment is due. Every time Matthew uses his gifts, he draws closer to death, and other psychics, all of whom gain their powers on that night the comet fell, are dying in the most horrible ways. And I will tell you that some horrible ways. To save himself, Matthew gathers a group of psychics to solve the mysteries of their powers before it's too late. So, first issue came out in April. The second issue just came out today, May 19th. And like I said, it's really interesting. Not to spoil too much, but yeah, again, Matthew is one of the main characters. Something happens where this comet falls, and then they all get abilities, and they all get these almost like apparitions or quote unquote phantoms that they're kind of like their little buddies in a way. They kind of like float around. You don't really see them. Only the person, like only Matthew can see his, but they actually talk to each other. And it's kind of like some of them think that they're going crazy. Of course, one guy, like, he takes pills, but like the synopsis says, if they use their powers too much, they end up dying.
Okay.
And in the first issue, there's a crazy, horrible death. And then now in the second issue, we're kind of finding out more because now the group is together with Matthew and these other psychics who he's tried to pull together into this world. So really cool issue. Colin Bunn's a good writer, and
I love him.
I think Aftershock has a lot of series that do well. So I'm enjoying it. And like I said, it's definitely a low printed book, so it's going to be tough to maybe get out there if your stores don't order indie stuff. But I was able to get issue 2. I think I'm gonna stick with the series and at least the first story arc. I don't know if it's not ongoing, but some really cool variants are out there as well for these covers. They have a cover A and a cover B. And then my second title, and this is actually, I'm surprised, I don't know if you read it this week, but Fantastic Four Life Story.
Oh, no, I wanted to. I haven't got a chance to yet.
So I missed out on a lot of that Spider-Man stuff.
Yeah, that one was great. Yeah.
So same thing. They're doing they're giving the treatment like they did for Spider-Man, similar, where it's every 10 years. So of course, Fantastic Four. And I think I enjoyed it a lot because I haven't read Fantastic Four in a really long time. And I like they did the whole origin of them, but they really expanded on it. Like there's a lot of stuff that's going on in the background that you don't see. I feel like they've never explored.
Mhm.
But then as they go through the 60s, of course you see them, and this is like not really spoilerish because it's typical of things in the 60s. You see them with the Beatles, and then you see other things that are happening in the world that we've all lived in the 60s, and then of course then there's this big reveal at the end, and then it leads right into the 70s. So again, I would check out the Fantastic Four Life Story. Unfortunately, I don't have who the writer is on this at the moment, but it's Mark Russell. Mark Russell is the writer. But for Marvel's First Family, I thought it was a good read. I haven't read Fantastic Four in quite a long time, but I figured let me pick up this number 1, and I'm enjoying it.
That's cool. Yeah, I'm going to read that one for sure. I really like the Spider-Man life story. I'm actually reading Fantastic Four currently. I finished the most recent issue while I was waiting to start today. But yeah, those are cool books, man. Now that makes me happy to read that Fantastic Four life story.
Yeah, and I like how they do it on different pages. They show you like the year that it is. So, and of course, the first year where Franklin's born, so
Right.
he's there. And then there's just, they show you things with like who the president is, but there's things that are going on with not rioting but protesting, which is all stuff that happened in the 60s.
That ties into history for sure.
Yes. And then there's things that are going on in the bigger world of Fantastic Four, which of course you know who we're leading up to.
Of
So
course.
I can't wait to see issue 2, and I'm pretty sure it's going to be 5 issues, similar to how Spider-Man was, right? Didn't
I think it
Spider-Man
was
go 5 issues?
6. I think it was 6. I can't remember for
Okay.
sure though. But it's good though. Yeah, it's a
Hmm.
great idea. And it's I remember in Spider-Man what was really cool was you saw him like actually age
Hmm.
also. So, which is really
Yeah.
interesting. But cool.
So what are you currently reading, Zach?
So I don't have anything like new. I just caught up on Nottingham, which I thought was really, really awesome. I really enjoyed the first one. So if you're not familiar, if you haven't heard us talk about this, Nottingham is a book that came out by Mad Cave Comics. So pretty small little publisher. It's hard to find. Got a lot of, rave because it was so hard to pick up. And it's a different take on the Robin Hood storyline in A Merry Men. And it's kind of the first issue is dark. It's all the issues are dark, but I wasn't really sure where it was going. But honestly, it kind of feels like it reminds me of Once and Future because it's kind of painting Robin Hood and the Merry Men as like the villains in this story, just like Once and Future kind of makes Arthur the villain.
Hmm.
And you're seeing for once, look, we're 3 issues in, so I don't really know for sure, but it seems like the sheriff might be the good guy here in this book. You've kind of like delved into his background, but I love Robin Hood. I love like all the different characters. We got Alan Dale showed up, Will Scarlet, Maid Marian, Robin Hood. We got a little bit of Little John showed up recently, Friar Tuck,
Hmm.
and it's just really awesome and gory and adult and just really cool. So if you can find this, I definitely suggest picking it up. If you're any form of a Robin Hood fan, I think you'll really enjoy this book. Just like I have been. So that's kind of one of the books I'm reading. The other one is a number one that I picked up this week that I wanted to talk about, which was Shang-Chi #1. I'm not sure if you guys read the Shang-Chi miniseries that just finished. It was 5 issues, and it kind of set up this weapon society that's going on in the Shang-Chi books right now, and how he's like his half brothers and half sisters who all form like the head of one of the weapon societies, whether it's dagger, hand, saber, hammer, and staff. So it's really cool. This first issue, it's him with his little sister, who, oh man, I think, Dagger. I think she's Sister Dagger. And
Hmm.
she's kind of like, who she reminds me of? She reminds me of, this might make you really mad. I just thought of, it reminds me of Honey Badger from like the Tom Taylor run of X-23, All New Wolverine. And she's just kind of precocious and super violent. Like, but
Now,
it's,
is real quick, we
yeah,
talked about this on a couple episodes ago. Is this the one that's going to be a mutant? Is she a mutant, or is we haven't learned that yet?
no, we haven't learned that yet. And
Okay.
I'm not sure if that's who it's going to be.
Okay.
But yeah, I remember talking about that. No, that hasn't showed up because that has some tie with Wolverine. Um,
Hmm.
so yeah, so she is like his little sister, and they're hunting down crime or whatever. They're really kind of trying to like right the wrongs of this, how the weapon society was like evil for underneath his father's reign. And now Shang-Chi is the supreme commander, and he's
Hmm.
trying to like take down these like, gun runners and whatnot. And in the first issue, they kind of run afoul of Spider-Man also. And I think this first story arc is actually called Shang-Chi versus the Marvel Universe. So the first issue is like him versus Spidey, and they hint that the second issue is, him versus Captain America. So
Hmm.
it's good, man. Obviously we got the Shang-Chi movie coming out. I've never been super knowledgeable when it comes to Shang-Chi. He's kind of just been in and out of different teams and stuff. So I've really tried to like start reading more of his stuff. And the miniseries was good. I wasn't blown away by it, but I definitely am going to keep up with this run because I feel like they're going to put a lot into it, with the movie coming and really trying to push this character. So
Hmm.
definitely check it out. I think you guys will really like it for sure. I'm
Cool.
trying to think who the writer is. It's some. I don't think I'm going to be able to pronounce the name correctly. Jean Loon Yang. Oh, maybe I can. So
Hmm.
never heard of him before. Never read any of his stuff. But definitely enjoyed it for sure.
Cool. Awesome. Yeah, I remember they just came, like you said, they ended that last series, and this kind of new series is leading right into the movie, which is going to come out in a few
Yeah,
months. So
definitely.
that's awesome. So definitely go out and pick it up. If you haven't read any Shang-Chi, your best bet right now, you got a #1 that just released this week.
Hell yeah. So that's what we got this week for what we're currently reading, and kind of all we got this week for the show. It was a little light this week on some news until today, until all this DC news dropped. So we're actually recording this on Wednesday night, the 19th. We'll be dropping this like we always do Friday morning, which is the 21st, May 21st, 2021. Like we said earlier, you know where you guys can find us. Please give us a shout out on any one of our Instagram accounts. Share with your friends, share with your parents, your family, whoever. Please send us more voice memos. We do have one that we saved and we will be doing next week. So don't forget, or don't feel like who was it who sent it again?
Trial by Gods.
Yes, Trial by Gods. Yeah, his origin story. So we're not ignoring you, Trial by Gods. We just didn't get a chance to edit it and add it in. So you'll be hearing from him next week. Yeah. What else, Justin?
Not too much. If you have not watched our live show, like I said, you can always find us on our YouTube channel. Check out Zach and I's little Friday night show. We did kind of like an open Q&A with the live chat and just kind of discussed some things. We discussed the CGC, CBCS stuff. Just kind of talk some other, things. Anybody that was asking us questions on the live show on our YouTube channel. So of course you could always find that. The link is in our Instagram on our link tree. Of course, like Zach said, we appreciate everybody supporting. It was a lot of fun on Friday night. I had a blast at the cookout on Saturday. Had a blast with Zach all weekend, showing him some Jersey love. First time I met the man. So it was tons of fun. And episode 20 is in the books for us this week. That's all I got.
Yep. Thanks a lot, guys, for listening. You know where to find us, and we will catch you next time.
Peace
Take
out.
it easy. Later.